Hello everyone, hi, how are you guys doing? Welcome back to another episode of a Chernobyl reaction. This is Heard Live, my name is Matt. We're here to have a great old time, again, with Chernobyl. We always have fun when we watch this show. This is a show about fun. We just chill out and enjoy the ride for whatever good thing is about to happen in the show. The show is only for good feelings only. This is a very safe zone for people to just relax in. Alright, uh, we're about to start episode 5. It's the finale for the show, if I understood it correctly. So we're gonna be doing that real quick. So yeah. Okay. Before we begin, I'd like to say that yeah. Next show that replaced Chernobyl should be up already on Patreon. So if you want to check that out, it's there. I uploaded a video for people to vote in from like a handpick like 10 shows or whatever, and it seems like the Expanse is going to win. So if you care about the Expanse, then there you go. There it is. I'm not sure if it's going to win because it hasn't happened yet, like the poll hasn't closed yet by the time of this recording, but by the time this video comes out, it should already be out. So there you go. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about Chernobyl. So, previous episode was called The Happiness of All Mankind, which is a great title, by the way. And what we had in that episode, I feel like the most important thing is that we introduced like 3 random ass characters that we're probably never gonna see again. And there were the animal liquidators. They literally just went in and kill animals. That was their entire job. Most of them were just pets, like dogs and shit. And that was the end of that. There wasn't nothing to that story other than just seeing it, you know? That is just one of those things where it's like, yep, this happened. Anyway, moving on. So that's that. But in terms of the plot, it seems that we have fixed the immediate issue of the nuclear plant. Like we threw the graphite inside of the building. I don't know if we sealed the building or anything like that. Maybe, I don't know, but we did that. We cleaned it up a little bit, so it's better. There was less radiation leaking. There was also a lot of work to make sure that like everything that was irradiated just was like the air was flipped over and watered down everything and just hunt down any like metal that had soaked radiation. And it's like, all right, we're going to dispose of that, you know. So they were taking care of that, and this was like that entire episode went on for a period of like 6 months or something like that. Like it was very long. Um, they also, well, there were some struggles about like sending robots to like move the rubble, the graphite from the roof, and in at the end it turns out that it's like, well, we can't do that because they get fried, and we need to like there's no like machine on Earth that can go in and throw the fucking graphite from the roof inside of the building without immediately just getting cooked. So we're gonna send people in. So they just got thousands of random ass soldiers and maybe civilians to just go in there. They were like fully like shielded, but given that doesn't do a lot compared considering the amount of direct radiation they're gonna be getting. So they went in there and they were exposed for like a minute and a half, and they just shoved graphite into it, and then they left, and that's all they did. And we got one scene with one random ass guy that did that, and he fell and he stayed there for much longer than he should have, and then his suit got open up, like his foot got open out because he tripped or something, and then he's just fucking dead, and we never saw him again, and that was the end of that. So that also happened. That was fun. Ludmilla lost her baby. Her baby. Well, first of all, we found out that she actually was pregnant, and second of all, we found out that the baby actually did die on birth, like 4 hours later, because apparently the baby absorbed all the radiation that she should have absorbed. So there you go. We that wasn't even like a point of interest in the episode; it just happened. But the most important thing in terms of like plot, quote unquote plot, is the fact that we learned that the reason why the explosion even happened seems to be because there is a fault with this specific type of reactor, the RBMK reactor, I think. And I'm just checking to see if the video is still going. Yeah, just making sure. It's fine. We should always make sure. Those reactors apparently have a fault, specifically with the AC5 button, which is the emergency shutdown thing. And under normal circumstances, the emergency shutdown works as intended. But the thing is that when there is no normal circumstances, some shit might go down. And what, if I understood correctly, what happened is that like, usually there's like control roads or whatever that go in there and they stop it if the reactor is going at normal. But if the reactor is not going to normal, which was happening at Chernobyl because they were conducting a test, like the rods don't go in or whatever, and in what the material that it's supposed to go in there in order to like stop the core from like going into burst, you know. I don't remember what the material is. Was it boron or something like that? Was it boron? But whatever. That material doesn't go in. I mean, it probably goes in, but the first thing to go in is not that material. It's actually graphite from the outside. And the graphite is what it ignites the core, like much more than it should. And that just caused the explosion, and it just fucking blew up. So that's what happened. They were conducting a test, and then during the test, they saw the fucking readings to go off from like 200 to 400, like super quick. And they were like, okay, shut down. And they pressed the button. And the problem is that button, that emergency shutdown system is faulty. But that's not the most important thing that we learned. The most important thing that we learned is that apparently the KGB knew this shit. Or not necessarily they knew, but they found out when one of Legasov's buddies submitted it like a decade ago or something like that. He saw this thing happen on a different nuclear plant. I don't remember where, but it was a different country. And he saw it happen, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna look into this. And then he was like, okay, I believe this is what happened. And he submitted this fault to the KGB, or to the government more specifically. So it's like, hey, we got a fault, we gotta fix it, right? But then the KGB saw that, and they were like, it didn't happen. What are you talking about? It didn't happen. Because, you know, Soviet Russia, the USSR, we don't have any faults. We never make mistakes. There's no problems. There is no spoon. These are not the RMQ reactors you're looking for. So they just literally... They read that submission saying, hey, there's a fault with these reactors, we gotta fix them. And they said, no, there's no fault. I don't know what you're talking about. Or RMVK reactors are great. Of course they're great. We're the USSR. This shit is fantastic. We're doing great here. I don't know what you're talking about. So they did that because, of course, the USSR is obsessed with looking well to the outside because of the Cold War. Specifically because of the Cold War. So, yeah, they just ignore the issue because they classified and made private those documents that guy submitted. So then nobody would ever be able to find out that there is a fault with the reactors. So, like, that's the thing. Is that, like, if the people working at Chernobyl would have known, they wouldn't have done that shit, and it wouldn't have exploded. So, you know, apparently it's also their fault to some degree, you know, the people running Chernobyl, like the nuclear plant, you know, like Dyatlov, of course, he fucked up initially, just right away. Then we also have, like, Fomin and the other guy that talks like this, that guy, that we saw in episode 1 and a little bit on 2. You know, there were the guys running the facility. And apparently the facility wasn't run very well. Like, it was horribly mismanaged. That's what Ulana Kumyak said a couple episodes ago, I think. No, I think it was last episode. She was like, oh no, they run that shit poorly, very poorly. They are guilty of extreme negligence, right? But they're not entirely guilty of the explosion because, so they didn't themselves blow it up. What blew it up was we had the two guys the skinny guy that I forgot his name. He was very young. Somebody actually told me in the comments, like, episode 3 just went up like yesterday. Somebody actually watched the video and they were like, "This is the name," and I was like, "Gotcha!" And now I forgot immediately. God, I just realized I'm talking about a real person, aren't I? That sucks. I'm sorry. It's weird because we're talking about simultaneously both a real life event and a TV show. Not even TV, HBO, but like I'm referring to this shit as a show, and then I go like, oh wait, these are actually real people. Top to Novel was the tall, skinny guy who was with Akimo. Okay, so Top to Novel. All right, there you go. I look it up. I pull that comment off, and they there we go. That's his name. So it was Toptunov and Akimov, the two guys that were like, they were monitoring the test, and then jumped, and Toptunov said, "Hey, jump," and Akimov pressed the button, and then it blew up. So they are technically the responsibles, the guy to blame for pressing the button that blew it up. But they did everything that they were supposed to do, which is, if this shit goes up, if it becomes unstable, we gotta press the emergency shutdown button, which is what they did. So they did everything right. That's what Akimov said. They did do everything right. So then the one that you have to blame for the explosion is like, who do we blame? And like it really is on mostly just the KGB. Just Russia's obsession with looking well to the rest of the world because of the Cold War. That's it. Like, it came back to bite them in the ass in such an explosive manner. That was a pun. I wasn't meaning to do a pun, but it happened anyway, and I realized immediately when I said it. Okay. Okay. So that was it, and at the very end of the episode, we apparently Legasov is gonna go to Vienna to a nuclear physicist, whatever convention, where he's supposed to talk about Chernobyl and what happened, right? So he's gonna go and do that, but then the problem becomes, we know why it happened, but we either gonna say what happened and then get immediately executed on the USSR. Not only him, but everyone close to him, his family, his friends, everybody, because you fucking threw your entire country under the bus. That's the saying. You just threw the entire country under the bus that is obsessed with not getting made fun of, and that happened. You know, they were put in a bad PR spot, and they are obsessed with that not happening because of the World War. So, yeah, he either says the truth, and that happens, and that's very bad. And Komyak was actually saying, like, you gotta go and say the truth. But then Boris, he's also there, and he's like, listen, I understand that this is probably the best thing to do, like morally or whatever, but you have to understand that when he says that, then he's immediately gonna get killed. His family is gonna die. His friends are gonna die. Everyone around him is gonna die. And like, whenever you have that pressure put on top of you, you can't blame this man for not saying the truth. Because holy shit, that's a lot of pressure to put onto a man. And shit's gonna go down. It's gonna happen. And it's gonna be terrible, you know? So, okay, I like that we have those three characters, and we have one of them that is like torn as to what to do. And then we have the other two, essentially, they are rooting for each option, but not really. They're just like saying, we should do this because it's what's right. And then the other person going like, listen, I understand that you want to do that. And yes, it kind of is what's true. But also you can't be mad at this guy for saying no because he's going to die. And everyone around him is going to die because fuck the KGB, man. And it's like, we should try to make a deal with the KGB where we can fix all the reactors in silence, so then nothing happens. And then Ulana is like making a deal with the KGB. That's more naive than what I supposedly am. And it's like, all right, we know what we're gonna do. So we either throw Russia under the bus, we either fix them silently, we either don't do anything. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Also, apparently, there's an audience that's about to go down with Dyatlov, Fomin, and the other guy. You know the guy. I just referred to him with the crazy hair that does like this. That guy. Okay, so those three people apparently are the ones that are gonna go on a conference or something when they're probably gonna get fucking crucified. Like honestly, they're gonna be like, "Hey, how come you kill like I don't know how many people by radiation poisoning that still aren't dead, but they're gonna die in a couple years? So what do you have to say to them? You know, something like that." Because they're of course they're gonna throw them under the bus, not the KGB. None in the KGB is gonna serve any time for this shit. None of them. So you know that's gonna go down. All right, so yeah, I think I said everything I needed to say for this. We've been recording for like 15 minutes, so sorry about that. Okay, so let's go. So Chernobyl episode 5 finale. Let's go. All right. That was episode 5 of Chernobyl. That was the finale. Okay. I mean, say finale, but like it's just a story that they told. Like there's nothing like big or fanfare about it. It's just like, yep, and there it is. Of all the episodes, this was like the most confined one because this was just like we're in a conference room. This is what happened, and I like a lot the fact that they actually like showed us what actually happened via flashbacks. Are they considered flashbacks? There's no one remembering. It's just no. This is what happened before episode 1. Like moments before episode 1, this was what's actually going down. And I actually said before, I was like, I want to see that happening. I want to see what happened leading up to the explosion, because what we see on episode 1 is just like the explosion happens, and then it's like, oh shit, what do we do? You know, we only see the immediate aftermath. Well, now we actually got to see what happened before. So a lot of factors led to this explosion happening, and okay. So if I followed correctly, at the very beginning, we actually see like the day before it happened. I mean, the day it happened, right? But because it happened at like 1 a.m. So like that day before that, Dyatlov went with Fomin to not an interview, but like a meeting with this fucking other guy. I forgot his fucking name. That motherfucker. I can just look this up now because the show is done. Yeah, I think it's Viktor Bryukhanov. Viktor Bryukhanov, yeah. So we had Fomin, Viktor Bryukhanov, and Dyatlov at a meeting, and they were talking about, okay, we're gonna do this safety test, and the reason why they were so fucking desperate for the safety test was because it's like, we were gonna when we built this fucking plant, we said, oh, it's done. But in reality, we hadn't done all the safety tests that were needed to happen. So they were doing reactor core 4 safety tests. And over the course of like 3 years, which is for that long the plan went on. Not 3 years, but like 2.5, something like that. They did the safety test like 4 times. 3 times it failed, and the 4th time was the disaster, right? But okay, so what happened was the fact that what do I want to say? Sorry, I'm getting lost here. I'm getting sidetracked. So what happened was that in order to do the safety test, you gotta put the engines at half power. Okay, so they put the engines at half power. Good. Then they get a phone call saying, "Hey, you cannot reduce productivity by the plant because it's the end of the month and we need power. You know, we need to keep the industries going." So then they said, "Okay, we cannot do the test." By that point, they said, I don't remember who gave the idea, right? But it was a matter of like, no, we can do the test. We'll just wait 10 hours and then we'll do it. And it's like, really? You're just gonna keep the engines going at half power for 10 hours and then do the test? And then, so, this motherfucker, Bryukhanov, is that his name? Yeah. Bryukhanov went, uh, hey, is that safe? To what Fomin was like, well, and I think he was gonna say, no, it's fine. But then he was like, no, no, I didn't ask you. And then he asked Yadlov, and Yadlov says, yes, it's good. We can do it. So that was the first problem. The fact that they decided, fuck it, we're just gonna keep the engine going a half hour for 10 hours. And then we're gonna do it. That, even me not being a fucking qualified nuclear physicist, not even physicist, but just like technician, whatever, me not knowing anything about this shit, I would hear nuclear power going on half power for 10 hours, and then we gotta do the test with it. I'm just sitting there like, I would assume there would be complications by doing that. There would be huge complications by doing that. And turns out that yes, there were. So I appreciate that the Legasov explained what actually goes down and how the process works, and it just showed us, okay, this is how it is, right? Because the fact that he's explaining this to people that are not qualified to understand it means that we as an audience can follow. And the visual representation that he had with the fucking things, with the fucking card plaques thing that he was putting on a shelf, that made a lot of sense, and it was, okay, I gotcha, easy to follow. So the way it works is that essentially just like this generates energy. In order to we gotta maintain a balance, so then it doesn't go off the rails. We gotta do this thing. This thing also causes the water thing, and if vapor or whatever that cools it down, and then but then the reactor energy does this shit, and this causes this to actually heat up more, and then when we add up this other thing that causes it to go down, so on, so on and so forth. Okay, so we have this like balance of like 3-4 things just like matching each other, and it's like, okay, we got a balance going on, right? But then the problem is that by shutting down the reactor for 10 hours, not shutting it down, but like running it at half power, it means that for 10 hours, so usually the reactor generates this poison. What was it? Xenon. I think it was xenon. So it's generating xenon. I'm actually gonna look this up just to make sure. Yeah, xenon poisoning. So it was xenon. The reactor was filled with xenon because that's something that normally happens on the reactor. But the thing is that when the reactor is running at full power, usually the xenon gets burned by it, by the heat created by the reactor. But the thing is that the reactor was running at half power. So by running at half power, xenon was not burned away. So by the time that they want to do the test and want to lower the power, the xenon is in there, and the xenon is actually working in order to like stop the heat. It is working as a stopping power, and when you do that, you lose balance. So power should have been at 700. It went down to like 30. It just went down, and then we had to like. So what they did was they pulled the control rods away. So by pulling the control rods away, it's like, okay, we're lowering the stopping power, so then it might go high up again. So they did that, and it went up to like 200 or something like that. And they were like, okay, we can. This is the highest it can go. Like, I'm sorry, I can't do more than that. And Diablo is like, well, fuck it, we're gonna do it anyway. And it's like, dude, we need 700. And it's like, yeah, it's fine. I've done this for much longer than you. It's fine. We can do it, And it's like, fuck you. Like, I don't know how much of this is like how much of Diablo's fucking personality was real, and how much of Diablo's fucking personality was just like cartoon villain for the show. Honestly, like overly dramatized. I guess we'll never know, but it's like this motherfucker did everything wrong. Like he legitimately did. Okay, so what they said is what they said is there are accounts that they took of like Toptunov and Akimov and shit saying no, the Adler fucked up and this is how he fucked up. So I guess it is true, everything that we see here. I mean, I'm sure to some degree it's like overplayed because it's like, well, fuck it, this is the bad guy. He's the closest thing to a bad guy we have. Well, him and the KGB dude, right? By the way, fuck you, KGB man. Like, because like I'm watching that and it's supposed to be a scene of like, uh, it's like no, you're not gonna talk to anyone ever again. Like, you're not gonna teach or not teach, but like you're not gonna work as a scientist anymore. You're not gonna talk to anyone you know. You're not gonna talk to anyone about Chernobyl. We'll make sure of that. You're not gonna have any connections. You're just gonna fuck you. You're gonna keep in your office, and there you go. And once you die, nobody is gonna know you were alive to begin with. Just like fuck you. Like, you're gone. Like, anything you did that was good, we're gonna give the credit to somebody else. You're fucking done. Okay? So that's what they did. But here's the thing. Here's the thing though. Is that I'm watching that scene and it's supposed to be like, oh fuck, that sucks. But I'm watching it and I'm like, I'm watching this. Like, I'm watching this HBO show and making a YouTube video about it. Like, I know this information got to me. Someone who's not even just some random dude on a different continent. Fucking 30 years into the future, this information got to me. Like, the information lived on. You can keep saying like nobody will ever know, but didn't work out for you, KGB man. Hell, like, we can look at that and it's like, yeah, this is like Soviet Union fucking blew up, dude. Like, it disappeared like 4 years later, I think. Was it in 91? So it is 88, 9, 0, 1, yeah. So 4 years later, fucking. So yeah, joke's on you, KGB man. What are you gonna do now? So there you go. This is the video that gets me killed by the KGB. I mean, the KGB does it exist anymore? Like, is the KGB a thing in modern Russia still, or is it just the USSR? Yeah, no, it was only a Soviet Union thing. Yeah, it was the main security agency for the Soviet Union from 54 until its breakup in 91. So, yeah, KGB can take me down now. They cannot do that. They don't exist anymore. Okay, I'm goofy now. Sorry. While watching this show in general, there are many moments when I'm approaching this as a show, and I'm approaching this characters as characters, and then I have to like go through a second layer of thought where I go, wait, these are real people. This either were real people or all real people, such as Ludmila. So Ludmila Inatenko, she's actually still alive. She's still alive, living with her son in Kiev. She got a son, so good for her. I knew that she exists from like 2 episodes ago because I fucking if I write I wrote Chernobyl HBO earlier today, just like 5 minutes ago, and the first thing that Google gives me is an article by BBC.com saying the real Ludmila from Chernobyl speaks for the first time. And it's a fucking video. It's a fucking 4 minutes video that I can watch of the real Ludmila talking about this shit. I'm actually gonna go and do that. I'm actually gonna go and do that after this. I'm not gonna do a reaction to the Ludmila Ignatenko fucking interview by BBC.com. I'm not gonna do a reaction video to that. I'm gonna watch it later, okay? But so she's still alive, she exists, and it's weird because it's like often when watching this, I go from like, oh, this is a show and these are characters on my screen, and just reacting to them as such, and then I go like 2 seconds later, I go like, wait, no, this is a real person. This either was a real person that is now dead, or it's a real person that went through hell and is still alive. And I don't know which one is more disrespectful. So every time I have to like catch myself and be like, no, we're good. Try to not say anything rude to those people because they're real people. You can say rude shit about fictional characters all you want because they're fictional characters. Who gives a shit? And given a lot of the show is fictional, it's not a documentary, and even then documentaries can be fake, by the way. But it's like, yeah, like, but no, this is a dramatization of a real problem, a real event that happened to real people. Okay. Speaking of real people, there's actually one character that they blatantly told us was not real at the very end, and I think I heard that. I think I heard something about that before, but I wasn't sure. And it's Ulana Komyak. So Ulana Komyak is actually not a real person, but what they said is that apparently there were many scientists, many members of the scientific community that helped Valery Legasov to do all the shit that he did. And they created the character of Ulana Komyak in order to represent, no, this is like the avatar of all those people that helped him out. You know, all of those people, they're all represented into this fictional character. Because it could have been a little weird or difficult to bring in everyone who was actually there helping across time, across the years, because it was probably like a lot of people, and it probably doesn't function as like a good storytelling thing to just jump around across months and months, and it's like multiple people showing up just like, hey Valerie, I'm helping you out, and it's like, what? You know, as the viewer, that would be weird, especially if it's a short series like 5 episodes. Also, we don't know how much of that information about who helped him out was suppressed by the KGB. We only know the one guy, which is Legasov, who was the icon. He was the guy who spilled all the bean. He gave it the conference in Vienna. He killed himself. So we know him because he became an icon. He became a symbol. He was like, I was there. I saw this shit. I did all this shit, and I put everything into tapes. I did the conference in Vienna. I was a neighbors and shit, and then I killed myself. And then everybody found out that way. So we know about Valery Legasov. We don't know about like everyone surrounding him. So to some degree, I guess they made up this character and just put all of this helps and accomplishments, help to the accomplishments that he had on the shoulders of this character that represents everyone that might have helped him out. Okay, that's what I would assume. So yeah, Ulana, not real. All right, sure. I feel like, okay, so I can call Ulana a dumb bitch all I want. Well, not entirely, because she still represents real people that were there helping him out. So there we go. Boris, dude, Boris was the shit. I like Boris a lot. Boris Shervina, because he was just this one guy. He showed up and he was like the most fucking stupid ass, dumbest bullshit politician suit man. He was like, yeah, whatever, we're doing this shit, or like, whatever, I don't need you. Okay. Like 10 minutes later, he was like, oh shit, this is serious. It's like, what do you need? What can I do to help? He's like trying to understand. He's like trying to help and do whatever he wants. And at the end of the same episode 2, he was given this speech to like the 3 men that went into the nuclear plant to like stop the water or whatever with the lanterns. Apparently, by the way, I want to point out, apparently the 3 guys that went in there with like the lights and trying to like pump out the water so the water would be gone, which made it so it didn't just become a fucking nuclear bomb that would just fuck up like half of Europe, essentially. Those 3 guys, apparently they didn't have extra lanterns. In the show, they had like squishy lanterns that they used after the original lantern died. Apparently, in real life, they only had like 1 lantern and it died, and they had to do everything on the darkness. And it's like, fuck, man, how did they do that? How did they do that and survive? Fucking, woof. So, okay, moving on. Boris was awesome because he had the fucking fastest character growth I've ever seen, and it's not even fictional, dude. It's real. You can tell it's real because it's like this situation is so fucked that I went from not caring, and that's something he says in this episode. He's like, they told me it wasn't a big deal, and I was like, yeah, sure. And then I stepped in there, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna be dead in 2 years. Cool. Well, 4.5. But it's like, yeah, like he didn't take it seriously, and he didn't think it was that big of a deal, so he didn't approach it as such. And then after he sees it, and he sees Valery Legasov just freaking the fuck out and all that shit, he's like, okay, what is actually happening here? You know, he tries to be understanding, and then he is understanding, and then he's very helpful, and he got all the shit that they needed. He got all the fucking like boron and sand, and he got the fucking all the like liquid nitrogen in the Soviet Union. Like he got everything that they needed in order to fucking stop that shit from happening. And like the entire cleanup job that we had from like episodes 3 and 4, and I guess 2 to some degree, it was a thing of like, it was him. It was him, the one that got everything. And I like that scene with Legasov and Boris when Boris is just coughing blood and is like, yeah, I'm just dying. And he was like, this is probably like a dramatization thing. I'm not sure if this was actually a real thing that happened, but he was like, it sucks because it feels like I wasted my life. Like it feels like I always felt like I was important to some degree, or that I was always trying to be important. And it's like, no, I was just standing next to people that were important, and I just kind of did nothing. And then fucking Legasov just tells him, just like, dude, you got everything that we needed. You were the one person that got everything that we needed. And like, they could have sent any fucking minister with me, and he probably would have been an asshole and an ignorant that didn't know shit and didn't want to do shit. But you were the only one that understood and actually decided, no, we gotta do this. We gotta fix this shit because this is the right thing to do. You were like the only good man. Like they fucked up in sending the only one good man that they had. And it's like, that is very touching. It's a very touching moment. And I, like, previous episode, I think my favorite scene in episode 4 was when Legasov and Boris are just like, they're moving the fucking moon rover, and they are so happy that it's working, and they just make a joke, and then they hug, and it's like, wow, this process that we had from episode 2 to right now, it's like, it's amazing, it's fantastic. These two characters are unbelievable. It feels so good, it feels so real too. It's like, okay, so we had that, dude, everyone that was there when it happened, like everyone working at the nuclear plant, it's like, fucking goddamn it. Yeah, I love, like, that's why Akimo was repeating, we did nothing wrong, or we did everything right. That's what he said, because like, it's true, they did do everything right. And some things that they didn't do right is because they were being threatened by never having a job again. Just like, fuck you, you're gonna disappear, and I'm gonna make sure that you don't have a job anymore. You know? You understand me, you dumbass punk bitch? Because Dyatlov is just a villain. He's just painted to be the villain, you know? And I'm sure that this, in real life, because of the accounts that are said that exist, he was pretty close to being the villain. So, fucking, dude. Fucking Dyatlov, man. I feel so bad for everyone that was there. Like, I didn't even know that all the people there were literally on a night shift. That they just arrived at midnight. Like, 1 hour previously, they arrived, and they were told, hey, we're running a test. And they go like, what? What do you mean we're running a test? We don't have the preparations. We never did this before. We don't know how to do it. And it's like, oh, fuck it, whatever, just do it. Given Akimov was the one that said, no, we know, even though they didn't. But also, Dyatlov is a piece of shit. So even if they had said, we don't know how to, it would have sucked. But even then, they did do everything right according to like instructions and shit. The one that didn't was Yatlov because he was like, no, we're doing it anyway. Despite the fucking core running at half power, which filled it with xenon, which caused fucking everything to happen, okay? So that sucked. Moving onwards, okay. So Valerie is giving this entire explanation and he's everything at the audience, and he eventually gets to the point of like they pressed the button, and the button didn't do what it was supposed to do. And the reason why is because the KGB suppressed the information. It was just like the government suppressed the information that this reactor had a fault, and because it had a fault, it means that this shit would happen no matter what. Because like under the circumstances that Dyatlov created by his incredible incompetence and negligence, it means that the AC FUD button is not gonna do what the thing that it's supposed to do. It's gonna do the opposite, and that's what caused it to blow up. So it's a mixture of like extreme negligence, incompetence. This guy's the fucking piece of shit and scum of the earth. But there was also almost a design flaw in the RMBK. Is that it? Core reactor. There was also a design flaw in it that was not fixed, and it was addressed before by a guy that Legasov knew, but it didn't fix it because the government was like, no, it didn't happen. And even Legasov said that even by knowing, his body was just like expelled from just working or whatever. He was like, no, you're gone. You lose your job, you're out. Like, we're making sure that you're out just by knowing, just because like you're not gonna tell anyone. And it's like, holy shit, dude. So Legasov spills the beans. He says everything. But the thing is that he says this as at the Russian audience. He didn't say it at Vienna. At Vienna he lied and he said at the Russian audience what went down, which was then silenced by the KGB because of course it was. It was like, all right, like I'm saying this, but this audience is only for us. So the KGB was like, all right, we can just silence us. Like that's no problem. We can just silence this entire building. Nobody will say shit. So that's what happened. And then they go like, listen, like they don't kill Legasov because it's like, well, Legasov already showed up in Vienna. So if he dies, it's gonna be a matter of like, oh, this fucking scientist dude that was at Vienna talking about Chernobyl, whatever, he was suddenly found dead. And it's like, well, what happened? And it's gonna attract some bad PR. So they go like, okay, we're not gonna kill you. We're just gonna make sure that you never interact with anyone ever again. We're gonna make sure that you lose your job. We're gonna make sure that you don't get any like commendations or whatever that you were supposed to get for your accomplishments or whatever you did for this entire issue. Fuck it, you're not getting anything. You're losing your job, you're losing everything. You only got your fucking dumbest bitch office. Nothing else. You're not gonna talk to any of these people ever again. You're out. You're gone. After you die, which is not gonna be long for now because you're dying of cancer already, but after you're gone, we're gonna make sure that it seems that you never existed to begin with, essentially. Just like, we're gonna erase you from existence. Without killing you, because that would be a bad thing. But everything else, yes. Which eventually Legasov took to his advantage at the beginning of episode 1, which is when he just committed suicide. And recorded all the tapes, saved all the tapes with the truth at a hidden place, hidden spot. So then when he died, somebody found them, and members of the scientific community just spread them, and eventually pushed the Soviet Union to actually work on the reactions and fix them, you know? So, good. Legasov actually, like, succeeded in doing the thing that he was meant to do. And it's like, you can say, like, well, he committed suicide for it. It's like, yeah, but he was also already dying of cancer. He's like, I got, like, 2 months left. Fuck it. I'm gonna kill myself on the night that the fucking reactor blew up 2 years afterwards, after the fact, but like on the night, maybe on the dot. I'm not sure if that is dramatized or like actually real, but if he killed himself on the exact time that it blew up, it would have been like, I don't know what words I want to use, because I want to say fun, but it's like, no, it's not fun. This is a real man that died, man. Come on, that's fucked up. but it's like it's like telegraphing. It's like making as much noise as possible of like, hey, the scientist guy that talk about this, like internationally, he killed himself on the day that it happened. I wonder what happened over there. He killed himself. Yeah, but like, why? Is there any memoirs or whatever that we should look into? And people just found out, and he just made enough noise with his death that people found out, and he got fixed eventually because he made enough of an issue. So there we go. As for the episode itself, it's like there's not much to talk about because it's like we're finished with events. This is just the truth, essentially. Just talking about what actually happened and why it happened. I appreciate the explanation. I appreciate it a lot. I like actually knowing why it happened, right? But like it is weird because it's this weird thing of like, this is not a show. It is a show, but it is kind of like the purpose of the show feels like, no. This happened. This is what happened. Look at it. Take a good look at it. Feel like shit. Make sure it doesn't happen again. You know? That's kind of the point, isn't it? Just like, yeah, this sucks, huh? It would suck if it happened again. So make sure it doesn't. Just like you viewer, if you grew up to be working at a nuclear facility and something like this happens, do whatever in your power to make sure it doesn't, you know? It's a matter of like letting people know in like a popular HBO modern 2019. Oh, this is gonna air in 2020. Okay, happy 2020, everybody! Woo! Okay, so in a modern 2020 kind of viewpoint, where it's gonna be like, as many people need to know about this, why it happened, what the story for all of these people that were involved there were, because again, people have like commented on my videos, and like older people that lived through it, and they want like, oh yeah, when it happened, I remember like hearing about it and being like, oh, those wacky Russians with the fucking nuclear plants or whatever, and watching the show is realizing, oh shit, this was an actual event with actual real people struggling and fighting to just make sure that to save the day. And they are not even the ones at fault. They are just doing what they can in order to deal with the situation that happened because of a lot of factors. And they're literally dying in order to make sure it gets solved and as few lives are taken as possible. Contain it as much as they can. And this is the story of those people. Fucking respect them. Fucking know about them. And mad respect to those people. Because holy shit. That's what this show is about. It's about showing us the event, showing us what happened, make sure that to make it as like painfully real as possible in order to drill the, hey, this happened. In order to drill that feeling into the viewer. And then after that's done, it's like respect to those people, you know? And even at the very end, it's like at the end of the episode, it's like, this is what happened to every single one of these people, and showed us real footage of them. I believe those were real footage. I was surprised that there was so much footage of Valery Legasov, but like, no, these were real people. This is real footage. Look at them, remember their names, which is a problem for me, but I try. Remember their names, remember what they did, and fucking mad respect to those people for literally giving their lives away in doing this shit, you know? And it's weird because we have these two groups of people that are essentially just like people that willingly threw themselves in there in order to like fucking fix the problem. I say willingly, some of them not so much, but like Valery Legasov and Boris Shervina, they didn't throw themselves in there. They were thrown in there by the Kremlin. They were like, hey, go and fix that shit. And then they died as a result. But they stayed there, man. They stayed there and they worked their ass off, and it's like, no, we gotta fix the shit. And like on episode 2, it's like, no, we're gonna die of radiation poisoning like 2 years from now. We're not radiation poisoning, like cancer. Like something like cancer is gonna kill us in like 2 years, 4 years from now. We're gonna die. And Boris didn't understand the implications of just going there initially. So hearing that hit him. But then at the end of the episode, he's like, I'm making my peace with it. And the thing is, it's not about I'm gonna die. The thing is about what am I going to do while I'm here, and it's like, fuck it, I'm gonna die anyway. What am I going to do with my time? And they did everything they could in order to save as many people as they can, contain the problem as much as they can. And it's like, it's not even them only, you know? Those are the main characters. But it's like, everyone else, like the fucking Animal Liquidator Squad, the fucking one guy that went in there and shoved like graphite for like 90 seconds and then fucking died because he was exposed. We don't know what happened to him. Well, he was probably a made-up character, just like a dramatized character. But like, all those people, all of those thousands of people, wasn't like 750,000 people went in there and they did like very simple tasks of like fucking contain this radiation as much as possible. And we'll never know how many people actually died from it. And they said like the number was estimated anywhere like between like 4 and 93,000, you know? The official record says 31. But radiation is messy like that. You never actually know how many people died by cancer as a result of being exposed like that. They said like how many? No, I think it was the miners. It was like 400 miners, and 100 of them did not live past 40. And it's like, fuck, man. Those miners, god damn it, like that sucks because it's like you're giving us all of these people. They did their best in order to, they did their job, and some of them didn't know the consequences. A lot of them didn't know the consequences. They were just told, hey, go do this. And shout outs to those heroes because they didn't know. If they had known, maybe some of them would have been like, fuck no, I'm out. You know? But then there are some people that did know and continue to do it because it's like somebody has to. Somebody got to do it because this shit needs to get fixed. So I'll die by cancer a couple years in the future, but I need to fix the shit at the best of my ability, which is what essentially Boris did, or what essentially Legasov did, Komyek did. Well, Komyek it's not real, but it's a character. But like we need to address Komyek, right? Like saying that she's not valid because of it, because like she actually represents people that were there helping them, you know. So all the scientists that were actually there, mad respect to them. I don't know their names because the show didn't tell me. And I don't know if they didn't tell me because the show or because the KGB erased you from history. But everyone that was there fighting for good and to save as many people as possible from this fucked up disaster that happened because of a lot of issues, a lot of factors, from design flaws to people straight up being evil. A lot of people that were not related, that were not involved. Essentially everyone was not involved. They all had to clean this mess up, and they suffered the consequences of it. And it's like, fucking salute to them, man. Like, ultimately, that's the feeling the show gives. It's a matter of like, this shit sucks, and it's terrible, and a lot of it is dramatized, and it's like, it's a good show. It's a really good show. But the feeling of the show is not like, oh, the show is good. It's a feeling of like, fuck, man, these were real people. Some of them are still alive. But these are real people. Fucking mad respect for everything they went through. Because somebody has to tell that story. So, like, people need to know that story, right? Because until people don't know about it, then the story's not real. But now it is. Now it's public and it's out there and people know. There are so many, like, named real life people that actually fucking gave their lives away in order to make sure this didn't get any worse. And it's like, again, back in the day, there might have been a generalized feeling of like, oh, those wacky Russians fucking messing up with their nuclear facilities or whatever. But when you watch the show, it's like, fuck, man, this is fucked. And I feel terrible for everyone the show is presenting me. And it's like, yes, hold on to those feelings and just mad respect to those people and make sure this doesn't happen again. That's ultimately the meaning of the show. It's like, understand that this was real, these people were real, these were real struggles, respect that shit, and make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay? Because that's how history works. It's like, we need to keep fucking spreading how history actually went down in order to make sure we don't repeat it. And sadly, that's a problem for us stupid humans because we consistently repeat all the same mistakes. But I think this is a good way of showing people what actually went down. Given it is not one by one real, it is dramatized to some degree, I assume to a pretty big degree, but a lot of it is true. The feeling it gives you and the struggles they show you, all of those are true. These were real people too, and it's like, fucking feel like shit, hold on to that feeling, and make sure you remember this shit moving forward. Because people have to. And I think this is a good way of doing it. Just like spreading it as like an HBO fucking banger of a show. Only 5 episodes long, very bingeable. It's like, watch it. And it's gonna be great because it's a great show. It's really well like directed, really well paced, everything. It's just fantastic. It does a lot of great things. So people are gonna love the show. And a lot of people did. A lot of people loved the show. I did. But ultimately, the takeaway from the show is remember this. Okay? Don't forget it. Don't let this be an event in history that gets forgotten to time. Fucking remember it so it doesn't happen again. And I understand that, like, I'm not gonna be in a position where I'm gonna, like, stop a nuclear disaster from happening. Not me, personally. Somebody might. And even if they don't, they're gonna tell the story to somebody else. They're gonna show this show to somebody else down the line. And it's like, this is a good way of spreading history. And like, even though history is readily available to us through like Wikipedia or whatever, recorded history, not all of it, recorded history only. This is one of those things that it's like, we're presenting you this entire thing in a very emotional manner because you're given all these characters and you see the struggles as they're happening, and it's like, fucking remember this. Okay? So that's ultimately the feeling the show gives me, and I think it's does its job really well. I think it does its job really well, and I think I enjoy the show a lot. I had a lot of, I wanted to say I had a lot of fun with it, but not really, because it's not a fun show, but it's a really good show. Ultimately, it's a really good show, and I'm glad I watched it. So there you go. We're done with Chernobyl. Thank you so much for watching this episode to a Chernobyl reaction finale. The show was great, by the way. I really enjoyed it. If you would like to see the next thing that I'm doing, that should be a replacement for the show, it's already up on Patreon, full length, and all that as well. Check links in the description, gaming channel, and I'll see you next time, okay? Take care.